Get ready. February will hit faster than you expect. You're standing in the last thin hours of January, and it feels like the world is breathing quietly around you. The light is low, tasks are half finished, conversations trail off, and everything seems to be waiting. That waiting isn't empty, it is a pressure point. The days you thought were slow are actually the stagehands pulling the ropes behind the curtain. What you call delay is not denial, it's calibration. Before you keep scrolling, drop one word in the comments. What are you letting go this month? The fog you've been moving through. It wasn't confusion. It was set up. You remember how the month began? Bright intentions, bold plans, a dozen small beginnings that all felt urgent. Then came starts and stops. You tried 3 different approaches to the same problem. Someone changed their mind. A project stalled. Your energy felt oddly heavy, like wool soaked with rain. Those are not random glitches. January has a way of baiting the ego with 1,000 mini temptations, little dramas, reactive impulses, easy distractions, each one a prop meant to draw your attention away from the core movement. The real work has been happening in the quiet margins. Notice the sensory pieces. The haze at the edge of your vision, the weight in your shoulders at the end of the afternoon, the way your attention keeps slipping like a radio searching for a station. Those sensations are honest and they are practical. Some of that heaviness is purely physical, a sign you need rest, better sleep, or a reset in routine. Be kind to that. Do not spiritualize exhaustion into failure. At the same time, there is another layer. A completion energy, a final contraction that feels like fatigue because it is finishing what has to be finished. Imagine a rehearsal where each actor is packing their props, the crew dismantling sets that served their purpose. The silence backstage is not the end of the show. It is the moment everything is being reassembled for the next act. This is completion, not collapse. Think of every small goodbye you made this month. An old habit left untended, a friendship that quietly thinned, a subscription cancelled, a promise to yourself you stopped feeding. Those endings aren't losses in the sense you fear. They're the clearing of stage space. Energy is being reclaimed and redistributed. The time you would have spent trying to fix something that doesn't fit anymore is now available to be invested where it actually matters. What you called giving up is actually a graduation. You're closing old chapters so new pages can be written more clearly. When the old voice returns, you will recognize it. It comes like an echo. Familiar phrases, the same timers, the same small bullhorn of fear. It might show up as a text from someone who used to pull you off course. It might be the memory of something you once promised that no longer aligns, or it may appear as a flurry of self-criticism. You're behind. You missed the moment you blew it. That voice knows where your soft spots are, and it taps them gently so you will jump. This is not a failure test to shame you. It is an initiation. How you respond in that moment matters more than anything you did earlier this month. Picture a brief scene. You open your phone and see a message from a person you haven't spoken with in months. The message is warm, nostalgia-laced, and it pulls at old rhythms, the same jokes, the same patterns you thought you outgrew. Your thumb hovers over reply, and a familiar knot forms in your chest. Part of you wants to step back into that easy loop. Part of you remembers the cost. You breathe and wait. You do not respond immediately. You notice the urge to perform the old role, half of you ready to apologize, the other half ready to explain. You choose silence for a moment. You let the impulse pass without giving it purchase. That pause, that tiny refusal to react on cue, is the truth-telling move. It tells the universe and yourself that the old scripts no longer have authority. Silence is not avoidance. In these last days of January, silence is the most active thing you can do. It is listening in preparation. You will hear faint new instructions, a recurring idea that won't let go, a sudden attraction to a project that feels unexplainable, a person who appears in conversation and triggers a deep yes you can't define logically. Those are the whispers of alignment, They are often small, irrational, and easy to dismiss. That is their test. If you insist on only following what makes sense on paper, you will miss the pulse of what belongs to you. Learn to follow resonance, the feeling that a thing fits, even when it defies your schedule or your spreadsheet. You will see openings that don't look like openings. A stranger makes a remark in a line at the coffee shop that lands like an answer to something you were worrying about. An old contact unexpectedly offers a connection that seems out of left field. An idea that popped up as a half-formed sentence in a quiet hour keeps circling back until you give it a little attention. These are not random coincidences. Think of them as soft invitations. They arrive before the official invitation does. They will rarely make total logical sense at first. When they show up, note the temperature of your body. Do you feel lighter, curious, slightly energized? Those sensations are your internal compass. Move by them, but with care. Small tests, small replies, a message, a short call, a tiny experiment will tell you whether to step forward. There's an accounting happening right now. Picture an old ledger, the pages marked with every investment of attention, worry, and action you made over the last season. Some lines are being erased, some balances are shifting. What you thought you needed will no longer clear as valid. It simply won't return. That can be unsettling. But this redistribution frees resources you didn't know you had tied up. Time, focus, emotional bandwidth. Those are being released and reallocated toward what is actually aligned. This is not about chasing success. It is about repositioning so that when momentum arrives, you are standing in a place where the movement can land. That repositioning is practical. It looks like protecting your calendar, saying no without guilt to tasks that drain you, keeping your morning still, simplifying commitments that create friction. It looks like tending to your internal climate. Choose conversations that feed you. Avoid the ones that stir up the old drama. Conserve energy in the week leading into February. Small, consistent acts of preservation compound. If a new door opens, you will need standing capacity to walk through it. You cannot sprint through a doorway you didn't prepare yourself to enter. Expect acceleration, but not always in the flashy way you imagine. February's hits are likely to be compressed and quick. What might have taken months before can move in days. A conversation can condense into an offer. A half-finished idea can catch flame and demand a rapid response. Titles can shift, responsibilities can be reassigned, networks can snap into place with a speed that surprises you. That surprise is saying something important. Timing has been compacted. Opportunities will present with less runway. That is the nature of compressed seasons. They reward clarity and penalize hesitation. Imagine the first week of February like the moment when the curtain finally rises. The lights are sharp, the audience is attentive. Roles you rehearsed for in silence suddenly have demand. A small change you made, the boundary, the quiet discipline, the refusal to react, becomes the reason you're called forward. People notice steadiness, not dramatics. You may be offered a responsibility that feels bigger than what you thought you were ready for. That is okay. Readiness is less about confidence and more about alignment. If your responses have been careful, curious, and conserving, you have built enough capacity to hold the new things as they arrive. Do not confuse speed with guarantee. Things will move faster, yes, but faster does not mean automatic. A rapid opportunity still requires discernment. Test the fit. Ask the simple questions. Does this sit well in my body? Can I meet this without giving away the boundaries I just built? What does this ask of my time and attention? A sudden yes will not always be the right yes. Your job in this compressed season is to balance receptive openness with steady boundaries. The easiest way to misstep in a fast window is to leap from scarcity or performance, move from resonance and from the integrity of the shape you have been building. You may notice karmic or energetic language coming up. Use it as metaphor rather than law. Think of karmic accounting as symbolic shorthand for cause and effect, for the way attention returns what it is given. It is a poetic way to describe an observable pattern. Investments of focus often yield similar kinds of outcomes. That language can be helpful to orient the heart, but do not confuse poetic metaphor with mechanistic guarantee. This is a season of redistribution, and the metaphors are tools, not contracts. There will be invitations that don't make sense to your old story. They might feel reckless at first because they do not fit your carefully constructed plans. That's the point. Evolution rarely arrives in a neat envelope. It comes as a mismatch between where you are and where you are going, and then you adjust. When an invitation lands that carries resonance, consider a small reversible test. Instead of committing to everything, try a short call, a weekend project, a limited trial. These tiny moves give information without burning bridges. They let you learn quickly without the dramatic consequences of a full dive. Be prepared for loss. Some things will simply fall away. Friends will drift in manners you don't control. Plans will dissolve. That shedding hurts in real ways. Allow for grief. Acknowledge practical needs. Rest. A conversation with someone who hears you, or simply space to process. Grieving and clearing are different but intertwined. Both make room. Do not rush your speed just to fill the vacuum. The temptation in the face of loss is to replace too quickly. Hold the silence long enough to hear what the next right shape is. Everything you notice now is information. Keep a short list. Record the strange coincidences. Make a quick note of ideas that recur. If a person keeps showing up in conversation, note it. If a dream or a persistent image returns, jot it down. This is not superstition. It is pattern recognition. Later, when February accelerates, you will be grateful for the breadcrumb trail that showed itself in the quieter days. It will help you move faster and wiser. There will also be tests of identity that look like opportunities to perform the old you. An old compliment, a role someone loved about you, the way people expect you to play a familiar part. All of that can be a seductive trap. Choosing the quieter, truer response is harder in public. When a system leans on your old identity, you will be tempted to acquiesce for the relief of recognition. Remember, popularity does not equal alignment. The more you have let go of what no longer fits, the more tempting it becomes to accept that temporary applause. Resist. Your work is not to be liked by the old crowd. Your work is to be available for the next act. As February approaches, practice a posture of readiness rather than frantic preparation. Readiness is small and consistent. It is the habit of checking your calendar and keeping a few blank spaces. It is saving energy rather than burning it on reactive tasks. It is curating your attention and choosing where you focus. It is the discipline of saying, "I will consider that," instead of answering immediately. Those micro-habits are the physical architecture that supports rapid shifts. In practical terms, protect your mornings. Keep 1 to 2 hours for quiet and clarity. Reduce the noise. Delete or snooze feeds that pull you into argument or old loops. Make decisions on the basis of how they feel in your body, not only how they look on paper. If something appears that could matter, do a small, low-risk test. Schedule short calls instead of sprawling commitments. Ask clarifying questions before saying yes. Keep your support network close. 1 or 2 trusted people who can see you clearly and advise without reactivating old patterns. Expect acceleration in relational dynamics too. People you've been steady with might suddenly step into different roles around you. Some relationships will test their elasticity, others will tighten and consolidate with surprising speed. This is a good time to communicate clearly and gently. Speak your needs plainly and listen for reciprocity. If someone expects the old you and you cannot give that, name it. You don't need to explain everything. A simple boundary or pause can be enough. A fast season benefits people who can hold their ground without burning bridges. There will be moments that feel like destiny and moments that feel like coincidence. Learn to differentiate by outcome, not by feeling alone. Destiny-like moments tend to keep you in integrity. Coincidence-like moments often require you to choose quickly with imperfect information. That is okay. Speed doesn't erase ambiguity. The difference is whether the choice you make lands you in a place that amplifies your life instead of diminishing it. If fear arises, and it likely will, reframe it as a feedback signal rather than a veto. Fear can show where value is at stake. It's not always a sign that you are wrong. Sometimes it's a sign you're on the edge of growth. Use fear as an indicator to prepare, not as a reason to retreat into old habits. Acknowledge it, name it, and then choose an action that respects both your safety and your forward motion. Remember to be kind to your nervous system. The work of recalibration happens in practice, sleep, movement, simple meals, short walks, and the occasional thing that makes you laugh without reason. These are not indulgences. They are foundational maintenance. They keep you resilient so that when February compresses timing, you can handle the speed without breaking. Conserving energy is not passive. It is strategic. Finally, take a moment to breathe into the truth that preparation is already in motion. You have done things this month, visible and invisible actions that have altered your trajectory. Even if outcomes have not yet appeared, the set is being built. The seeds that feel dormant are not dead. They are storing potential. You are not behind. You are being prepared. When February hits, and it will likely hit faster than you expect, you might be surprised by how quickly things compress. Doors may open sideways, roles may be offered in conversation, momentum will demand quick decisions. Your readiness will be measured by the steadiness of your interior and the simplicity of your commitments. Keep your heart soft, your boundaries clear, and your schedule lightly held. Follow resonance over logic when strange opportunities arrive, but move with discernment, small tests, and clear protections. If this message landed with you, share it with someone who needs to hear that February is coming fast. Keep observing. Conserve what is precious. Trust that the quiet work has been doing everything that loud ambition could not. The last days of January are not a lull. They are a pressure point, and you are being positioned for a faster, sharper arrival. If you want to stay with the momentum, subscribe and come back to this space as the month turns.